the SM Media Podcast Network.
Hi folks, and welcome to the debut episode of SM Media's Countdown to Cheltenham 2026. I'm Scott McPike. It is a pleasure to be your host as always. I'm delighted that we're back for a new series. This is going to lead us up until the Cheltenham Festival in March 2026. We've got a lot to get into. We'll do a jump kind of season preview. We'll talk about the kind of big divisions, horses we like, potential Cheltenham clues that we've maybe seen already. And to join me, as always, is an absolute pleasure to welcome from the Scottish Daily Mail, Callum McClurkin. Callum, how are we? And the jumps are back. The flat's by. We're done with that.
Yeah, just need a drop of rain, really, don't we? Yeah, just nice to get it back up and running very, very gradually. Though we do see the jumps are back. They're kind of Willie Mullins dominating the Breeders' Cup, and GP McManus getting a second over in Melbourne Cup. So even they're infiltrating the end of flat season fair, the jumps boys. So yeah, I mean, it's that kind of time between seasons, isn't it? We were kind of just monitoring stuff and really kicking on. Probably the Cheltenham November meetings when it can really kind of kick off. We've seen some decent performances already. Like Envoy Allen last weekend at Down Royal was very good, rolling back the years there, winning that. Resplendent Grey winning the Colin Parker quite well, showing maybe a surprising kind of turn of foot there. He could be a Grand National type, down the line. Potentially, he'll definitely get in now, probably get a market up to 150 or so. So your nicer ones are starting to get out. Good card at Chepstow this week, through the week. Newbury tomorrow, Clonmel tomorrow. Your better calibre of horses are getting out. Just need some rain and some competitive field sizes to really get us going.
You mentioned America, you mentioned the Breeders' Cup, and Willie Mullins, we're running out of words, aren't we? Like he's winning a Breeders' Cup turf with a horse that was fifth in the Scottish Champion Hurdle.
Yeah,
that statement's ridiculous.
Guess which one I backed him for. Yeah, not Delmar. I mean, I actually, when I saw the news, I thought I actually loved the idea because I do think he was a kind of classy mile and a half horse. So the Ebor, I thought he might struggle to stay and settle because he does have a bit of fizz about him. He did it easily because he was just better than a handicapper, and he needed to go into graded company because Melbourne wouldn't allow him to go. I thought it would be the wrong race for him anyway because he's got a screw in one of his legs. So they've taken a chance. Breeders' Cup. They've identified a really good opening, and it's probably the only yard in the land that would ever think of it. But he won it from the outside really well, showed a quick turn of foot. Mini Hawk was vulnerable after the arc. We left a small mark on her. Rebels Romance is 7. They were the only two you'd be genuinely frightened of at the top of the market. So Goliath is one of King George, but French horses over there probably don't have a decent record in rattling quick ground. So, and he's gone and won it really well. What will you do next? I mean, his race would probably be the Hardwick at Royal Ascot rather than anything else. I mean, would you really bother persevering, mix and match and jumping with him at his stage? Probably not. He's probably a bit too good for that, maybe. But it shows, if you've got a good kind of jumper stayer, you can go for these kind of high class flat races. I mean, look at how often was Constitution Hill tipped to go to Ascot Gold Cup. I mean, Willie Mullins is the only guy that's got bravery to kind of go and do that. He might be the only person that's got the horse flesh to do it as well. But he's not afraid to roll the dice, and he was always kind of playing it down, going, and maybe we'll be there for 4th, 5th, 6th, and then seeing the draw. We'll maybe have to be 7th, but he's not kind of just going there to make up the numbers. I think he kind of had a sneaky chance, and the draw was the only thing that put me off around Delmar. I mean, I do like the Breeders' Cup, but it's not a favourite track of mine. I think it's Goodwood and steroids. Really, I think it's a bit ridiculous. The place it's far too tight for my liking, and get that absurd cutaway to the left where they just kind of swing away from the camera. It looks a bit odd to me. And the dirt track's even worse, so at least it's not there for the next 2 years. But Billy Mullins won't care. Scooped to kind of like, he's kind of the ethical dimes for like the fourth most valuable horse in America, given the way he won in terms of prize money. So interested to see what they do, keep him training, but they've been quick ground mile and a half, classy horse. I mean, the way he is now, I mean, he's probably Hardwick standard, really. He's definitely up there. He did have that kind of potential in him.
Yeah, and also as well the Melbourne Cup. JP McManus, I think, winning the most he's ever won in a race with Goody Two Shoes.
Yeah, in second, yeah. He's got to buy a bit more of them, isn't he? Yeah. Just a pipe opener for the jump season ahead, isn't it? Yeah, he ran really well, from Goodwood to there. It was a long-term plan, and a soft ground just got going a little bit. But the Australians are clever. They usually have one these days that's well enough handicapped to win, and they did with half years, and there was a few kind of disappointments in behind. I mean, Absurd ran his usual kind of honest race, 6th or 7th. Al Riffa was a bit unlucky out wide, probably had too much to do, too much weight. So yeah, it looked decent enough, Melbourne Cup renewal, but it'll definitely be, going to know we've got the November handicap this week, but it's definitely now full steam ahead to jumping.
It certainly is. And before we get into talking about the kind of divisions, a couple of kind of festival changes that have, well, one festival change is confirmed, one that's been mooted. The first one, the Mayor's Hurdle, will now be run on the Thursday. It will be run on the old course. Obviously, it's been in the new course. The new course, it's been in the old course since it was brought in. So it's a move now to the Thursday before the Stayers Hurdle. The Ryanair is now the feature race on the Thursday, which I find quite interesting. And the other thing, obviously, shortly after that, there was a column in the Racing Post with potential talk of moving the festival from a Wednesday to a Saturday. We'll start with the Mayor's Hurdle moving first of all. The Tuesday's always been the kind of 4 Grade 1 days, the chance where you can get the 4 hot pots up. Moving the race to the Thursday, smart move or just something of nothing?
No, I don't think it's a particularly inspiring move. I mean, it probably won't affect most people, most way of thinking, but I just kind of see it pointless. I mean, it's kind of skirting around the edges of the real problem is it needs cut, to be honest. It should be moved to the Mayor's Day that they have at Cheltenham 3 weeks later, and then you've got the option of going and doing both Champion Hurdle and the Mayor's Hurdle if they wanted to. So it's trying to kind of get the Mayor's race its own kind of part. Is it again a bit of Willie Mullins placating as well? If we do move it to this stiffer new course, then we might try and get Lossiemouth over to definitely run the Champion Hurdle. I don't think it'll change his way of kind of thinking about things. And the most relevant the Mayor's Hurdle has been is when a horse fell at the end of it for betting reasons on as you mentioned the hot pot day when Annie Power fell. Barring probably Honeysuckle's memorable win in that, but you could argue that she should have been the Champion Hurdle that year anyway, defending her crown. So I don't think it does much. It's kind of more pussyfooting around the edges of serious problems in the schedule. I think it should either be demoted to Grade 2 or not there at all. Is my thinking of it. So, and the fact as well, it annoys kind of your second tier of horse racing fans. I think you've got your top tier that will watch it no matter what and love it, things like that. Your second tier that will probably just follow big festivals and trends and say, well, why is this not here anymore? And then you've got probably a lot, and they're probably starting kind of -1, -2, trying to figure out the race in the day, and that just annoys these people. So, no, I can't say I'm a fan of it, to be honest. And then you've got the plate moving to the Tuesday, which I think there's a pretty similar race. Then you get the Ultima, you've got the two.
The plate and the Ultima on the same day, and the plate, Ultima, and National Hunt Chase shouldn't be in the same day.
It's all a bit too kind of similar there, isn't it? So, yeah, it's probably indifferent to people like me, but I can see why some people are quite annoyed by it. It's pretty pointless.
Well, the next one, Wednesday to Saturday.
I don't understand the thinking of this either, really. I mean, the problem is it clashes with other sport, you know. It's traditionally the last day of the Six Nations. Now, I mean, Scotland probably aren't competitive enough in the Six Nations for us to really have a massive opinion. I think our race is normally run by the last game of the season, but you know, imagine if you had an Ireland, England aside, and that's on days of Cheltenham, it will get lost. It will certainly get lost in mainstream coverage.
That was my thought, though, right? Because look at the kind of big festivals, right? The Grand National's on the Saturday because it's for your casual punter. That's the race for the casual punter.
Yeah.
Royal Ascot Saturday, is that the best day of the five? I don't think it's I don't think it's. I think it's actually the poorest day of the five when you look at it, because it's only the 6 furlong Grade 1. Is it QE2 on the Saturday?
Yeah, it's a 6 furlong sprint that you've got there. But the thing is, once when Royal Ascot moved it because of COVID reasons, it's not messed about the schedule. So at least you can kind of we've got a kind of 4 or 5 year kind of trains based thing where you can kind of go what's going on at the Buckingham Palace, the Duke of Edinburgh. You kind of know the feel of the race. When Cheltenham starts moving everything around, it can get a bit lost, and particularly when fields aren't filling out properly. It's another problem. It's just kind of spreading the dilution of it further. And I think this is kind of more of what this is as well, along with the mayor's change. It's an admission of dilution of quality and trying to justify it by keeping the status quo as much as possible. Moving it to Saturday for commercial reasons.
Is it going to get more punters in the gate though? Like a Saturday, is it going to get? Because
I don't know what type of punter you're trying to get. Because
you and I will go to Cheltenham or watch it. You and I will take the week off or work. Right? That's people like us.
Didn't do that last year.
No, I know, but what I'm meaning is that you're going to be watching the Cheltenham Festival. You're going to try and move your schedule to fit the Cheltenham Festival. Moving it to a Saturday, the only appeal I can see is people who can't get the week off. But to me, they're not the people you should be trying to get through the gate. And that's the only way I can see this being a move, is you're trying to get more people through the door because attendances are down.
Well, I mean, the other thing was they wanted attendances to go down to improve the customer experience.
Exactly.
And now they're going back to this. So again, it's a thing where I really think that it's got a bit of an identity crisis, and what does it want to be? Because I think we've been this way before when we talked about 5 days. What do you want it? Do you want it to just be a run of the mill National Hunt Festival? And if you do, then make it 5 days. Make it expand. You know, put in an intermediate cross country chase. Put in an intermediate Grade 1 hurdle. Put in all the races that you want there. A mayor's bumper. Do it. Be like Punchestown. Be like Galway in that regard. Just do it, or scale it back and get back to basics of the full fields and full championship races. And if you're not good enough, go elsewhere. Go to Fairyhouse. Go to Aintree. Ayr, heaven forbid. You know, either be quality or quantity. Stop trying to find this kind of balance that doesn't exist in the middle to me. You know, and messing around with the edges just annoys people. I mean, the only way I think you can successfully look punting wise at the start of the year is trainers. Trainers are creatures of habit. They target the same races year after year after year. Punters are the same as well. They want routine. They want consistency. They want ground descriptions to be correct.
And here's the thing as well, right?
Like just do the basics correctly, and the rest will take care of itself. And I thought Cheltenham were doing that. I mean, I thought last year's changes, you know, I think the Triumph change is a good one. Like the National Hunt chase back to handicap was a good one because the year's race is working out extremely well already. So they did make some kind of small steps, but I think that's all that was kind of needed. I think further changes are probably not required, and if there are further changes required, it needs much more radical ones than that. Either start expanding or cutting and knowing what you want to be.
That's the thing. Like, again, I'm looking at it purely from the kind of attendance point of view, right? Because I completely agree about I think everybody that I kind of know and kind of that's been to the festival in the past, it was better when it was 3 days and you had your kind of, as you say, your mayors were taking on your geldings. You had the best taking on the best. That isn't there now because of the amount of options. This changing it to a Wednesday, Saturday is not going to bring back your punters who are going to Benidorm for a week. Because they've been to Benidorm, probably far cheaper. They're not coming back because, they're going to move it to a Saturday. It makes no difference to them. Like,
Yeah, and the argument is that it kind of tails off, doesn't it, by the Friday as well a little
yeah,
bit. But the Saturday you've got this kind of, you've seen the Six Nations, but it doesn't take place at once. It's all staggered, so you'll have your
yeah.
12 o'clock kickoff, your
Premier
three
League as
o'clock,
well. Premier League.
and your late. Premier League's massive, it's also a time of the season really where titles are getting won in it mid-March and things like that. So, yeah, I could you maybe kind of see the thing a little bit. You see a lot of games kind of move to Sundays anyway from Saturday. So, I mean, is that Saturday traditional 3 o'clock slot really that full anymore? Maybe not. But you're still kind of competing in a different market there. Well, I think, and everyone, even older people like me, I mean, they still believe that the derby should be the Wednesday, and moving that to Saturday is kind of detracted it a little bit. So I think it's horse racing. It's an everyday business as well. I mean, it's on all the time. It's still the second most popular spectator sport. But even when you go through like newspapers and things, you'll always have a football presence. You'll always have a racing presence because there'll always be cars there.
Mm-hmm.
So there's something on pretty much every day. So it is kind of still embedded in society a little bit. And, as you said, people have already paid for it, marked out of it already. And they don't really want to kind of when they see a story going, "What do you mean they're changing the days? I'm already booked and gone."
It
So
isn't. That's the thing. It isn't something that's probably going to be in place. I
it's
would
definitely
imagine for
not
a few
this year.
years. It's going
Yeah,
to take a few years to
yeah,
fully
that's
kind of.
that's true. But when the Racing Post did mention it, it was a kind of it was dropped as a kind of soft hint. When the chief executive Guy Lavender kind of spoke up about it, it was a bit heavier than that.
Yeah, it
And
was. Yeah.
it was a bit kind of this is going to come in anyway, and as if they've done their kind of commercial background scouting already on it, so it doesn't seem to be that popular. But whatever happens will happens in these things. I think race goals have got well, anyone attends. I mean, football. You see kind of games moved left, right, and centre. Really, fans really not really at the forefront sometimes.
They're
People
not.
thinking.
They're not. But this year we're going to take a look at the big divisions as it stands. Touch wood, no changes that might affect. It's going to be Tuesday, Friday as it stands, and we're going to talk about the four big divisions, novice chasers, and we'll do some horses to follow, potentially kind of juvenile horses, novice hurdlers, and maybe even bumper horses. We'll have a look at them. Start with the champion hurdle, 2 mile hurdle division. We have a few fascinating stories going into this season. We have, just looking at the kind of early market for the champion hurdle, the new Lion at 4-1. All these are the odds checker, by the way. Lossiemouth 6-1, State Man 7s, Constitution Hill 8s, likes of Majborough, Anzadam, William Money, you've got likes of Rancy, Kyrgyz, Irish Point. Where will we start here? We start with Constitution Hill.
Yeah, you can. With a short conversation, but yeah.
Right. He's 8-1. Fell twice at Cheltenham and Aintree, put in a complete bomb at Punchestown. All reports are from the yard that he's better than he's ever been. He's been to the he's at the eye optician, which I could probably talk about as well. Can the old Constitution Hill return?
I mean, it could, but I mean, it's just so hard to see, isn't it? I mean, his jumping was very problematic second half of the season, where you couldn't really trust him jumping at pace. Fell in the champion hurdle at a point when the tempo was just beginning to increase. A similar thing kind of happened the race before. It kind of happened again when he stepped at one accidentally before that. And the big question was, well, if the jumping is sort of the what's it kind of like under the bonnet, and it punches down. He was reluctant to even start, hanging left. His jumping again was still terrible, and the response off the bridle was non-existent. And to be honest, it's a long, long way back from there. And, it was 6, 7, 8-1.
Can you see the value in it?
No, there's no value in it at all. It's a ridiculous price. There should be another zero in it. It's absurd. He's 8-1 to get there, in my opinion.
Yeah, that's kind of.
I mean, there's so much to fix there.
Yeah.
The only thing is that it's not deep division. There's only kind of 3 or 4 top notches, but he doesn't even set the standard from last season anymore. I think that honour should go to State Man. Far more reliable, consistent. Wasn't that far off him, even in his pomp. He's maintaining the level, and Constitution Hill's gone. It's gone way down. He did the eye optician thing, didn't find anything. If you're not finding anything, these horses,
I'd
it's
love to find
even worse.
what's an eye optician hoping for that the horse just how do you
Yeah,
find
I think
out
you've
it
got all
was
these kind of new equine kind of techniques, haven't you? And if you've got a horse of that caliber, then you're definitely going to try your damnedest to try and get to the root of the problem. But they never really got to it season before. I don't think they got to it last season, really. And it seems to be the same kind of. Well, he's working okay. Well, yeah, because he's working at probably at half speed. But on a race course, it's a completely different matter. And like the Fighting Fifth is more familiar. And again, you could argue that he could actually shorten from here, because if he does turn up the Fighting Fifth, win that, go to Christmas, maybe win there as well, and then you're kind of your first genuine wave of Irish opposition comes in, and they jump quicker. It all goes down south again. It's just keeping him sound. He might have the one kind of odd performance in him potentially, but yeah, it's difficult to see him. Probably only two words that you could see that's positive is Sprinter Sacre came back from probably worse.
Mm-hmm.
In terms of medical reasons, probably worse, but there was no kind of evident kind of talent drop there.
No.
There was a genuine reason. They found it. He came back and won. It's a long road for Constitution Hill to do that.
The one thing I will say is he's either not going to run in the champion hurdle, or he'll be shorter than 8-1 if he goes for a champion hurdle. Because if he's anywhere near what he was like last season, they just won't run him. They'll just call it a day. They won't continue. They won't just make him a substandard horse. I think Michael Buckley, I think, is too proud of him to go to do that.
Well, the damage is going to be done in that front.
But you look, if he does go and win the Fighting Fifth, if he does beat the New Lion, and then he goes to Christmas, you're still really worried. You're still a bit of doubt in the back of your mind, as the same as what we saw 2 years ago, where he was, I think, the best horse I've ever seen over hurdles. Then when he won the Supreme, I don't think I've seen a better performance than that over hurdles. Is that horse coming back? And it's so hard at this point, but that's what you kind of want anti-postponed to be. You want to take a chance, but it's too hard at the moment at 8-1. You would be wanting a bit bigger than 8s to take a chance on him.
And over 80s, and even that would be interesting.
But you've been quite high on the New Lion since he won the Turners.
It's a wrong favourite here.
Okay, I'm just on the New Lion though. Like he's 4-1 favourite. Won the Turners. This has been the plan all year. They've said that they're going to aim him for the champion hurdle. What do you think? Do you think he has the pace to be a champion hurdle horse? Because if you watch back that Turners, the first thing that comes to your mind isn't pace, but then you watch back the Charlo and you see he's all pace. So what is it? What can he win a champion hurdle?
2.5 miles, isn't it?
Yeah.
Kind of thing. Was he made to look quicker by the two that he beat? In challenging late against Final Demand and the Yellow Clay, who are 3 mile chasers down the line. Certainly, Final Demand seems to be the Yellow Clay staying at hurdles, which is going to be Campaign's a stairs horse. So they were two that are definitely going up in trip.
Mm-hmm.
We've kind of seen it before, the likes of Imperi Passes. When they put in this kind of level of performance, you think, oh, it could be a champion hurdler. Doesn't seem to always kind of go like that, but his technique's quick enough. Definitely worth chancing. He's got a lot of potential there. But I mean, it's still a step. It's still a step up into novice to open company, and he's priced as if he's kind of achieved that already. Normally you'd see if he goes and takes out the Fighting Fifth, then yeah, he can be favourite. He's still got to do it 2 miles in open company, quicker pace. Probably why he's up there is because the only British rival there is probably still Constitution Hill. And if you think that he is going at the game, then the New Lion's the only one that you can really see being a 160-ish horse going forward.
You
At
can
Champion
get
Hurdle.
the defending champion hurdle winner at 66-1, but you wouldn't
Well,
back her after Saturday.
after the weekend, yeah, but that's kind of she did scope dirty, so there was a valid excuse here. But I think, admittedly, everyone knew that that was kind of a
It was a
strange old renewal, and she was a fortunate winner who was put in her place at Punchestown. But it also shows the value of having a go. Because that could happen. The favourite still needs to jump them all, so you shouldn't run scared of these horses. Take your chance and fill up the race, and you never know what might happen. But yeah, I mean, it's that's about the big question. Is he looks capable of doing it? Don't get me wrong, but he's priced up as if he's already is a second coming, which I'm not quite sure that he is yet. But he does look to have good claims to go forward. But I think he needs to find that. He needs to find a fair bit more to kind of worry likes a state man, I would have thought, and I think they're the wrong way around in the market.
State man, obviously, like going into Cheltenham, I think we both said on the preview that we did that we gave him no chance, but massively came back to life. The one thing about State Man is that at the moment we're guaranteed. We know he's coming here. We know he's capable of coming here. We know the path he'll take. We know pretty much, unless Lots of Mouth was to absolutely destroy him, we know the jockey will be on State Man.
Mm-hmm.
And it just looks to me the one at the moment that's got less to prove. Because the new line has to improve.
He's the best horse in the race.
Yeah.
He sets a standard. I mean, he was obviously kind of comfortably run to his kind of mid-160s before tipping up at the last. He kind of backed that up at Punchestown, where he won pretty straightforwardly. Maybe had precious little to beat in the end, but you could have the same scenario in the Champion Hurdle if the new line doesn't make the grade, because instead he was back. He was even like 6 or 7 where he was clearly second best at Coronation Hill. He was kind of that price. If you think he's gone at the game, State Man sets and Lossiemouth doesn't go. State Man's a good kind of £10 clear here. You know, I mean, he's comfortably the best horse on all-known form at this distance. Comfortably.
What would it take for Lossiemouth to come here? Does she have to go and splits the Christmas hurdle and beat State Man and the Irish champion to come here?
Well, the fact that they're starting kind of Hatton's Grace, isn't it?
They mentioned the Christmas hurdle again, which I find interesting.
Yeah. Maybe bump into the line. Why would he bother, really? Unless he'd probably run there because he's probably got fact to file for King George, and he's probably going to send over a decent King George team. So,
and they might want to get the Trainers' Championship just wrapped up before Christmas because he could.
I mean, he's got enough depth, hasn't he? But he's not bothered with the Betfair Chase. So I mean, he's still going to. He'll still probably need to win the Grand National to have a go at that. Probably not at the forefront of his mind, but you know, he can think about anything. But yeah, Kempton was kind of the sign where it was maybe 2 miles like that was maybe a bit too sharp for her, and then she just looks more comfortable at 2.5, doesn't she? The only thing that would swing it is if she takes on State Man, the Irish champion hurdle, they both stay on their feet this time, and she wins with no excuses. Then you'd be asking a question.
But
that's
again,
the big one.
Again, though, Paul Townend isn't going to ride Lossiemouth in the Irish champion hurdle. So why would you then, like, if Paul Townend then decides, I want to ride Lossiemouth, why would you then take off if it's Danny Mullins or whoever it is?
Well, that's a question they have to ask. That would be the question. If they both go that route, because that's a race that would decide it for me.
Yeah. It was the race that decided it for Honeysuckle, if you remember. That was the race that decided Honeysuckle was going to go champion hurdle, was when she destroyed the field in the Irish champion the year she won the champion shortly after.
Yeah, it's a race like that in nature. So I mean, yeah, ask us back there in 3 months' time. I think would be the one, because obviously they both kind of fell without. Well, State Man won, but I mean, Lossiemouth was challenged and wasn't asked a question yet till she kind of crashed out 2 out. So yeah, I mean, if Lossiemouth won, beat State Man, the Irish champion, without any excuses, then the question would definitely have to be asked. And what else would Willie Mullins have in the mares?
Yeah, like
division as well.
Yeah, Woodoo's a challenger. Woodoo's a serious threat in that division.
Woodoo went close at Aintree to her a little bit, and again, she seemed pretty comfortable at that distance. Aintree as well, 2.5. You know, she just kind of has that niche distance kind of wrapped up really in open company or in Mayor's company, and when you look at that, maybe Kempton, she was kind of slightly off, but she was kind of chased along a long way, a bit rushed off her feet the first half mile, probably went soft ground at 2 miles as well, and you just wonder if it's just a shade on the sharp side for her. I think she'd be capable. You can say that with Honeysuckle as well, really. 2 miles, it was kind of sharp, definitely towards the end of her career. It was a bit sharpish for her. She needed kind of pushed out a little bit. So yeah, I think when we were talking about it at the start of the last season, we were kind of hoping that it'd definitely be champion. But I think that's kind of seems a lot more unlikely this year than it even did last year. And last year they went Mayor's Huddle auction, and I think it's even more likely that they'll stick with that.
Yeah. Just in terms of this division, like obviously there's a few horses that it looks very likely that the four we've mentioned, if like it could be between those. But is there anything other, like I've got a couple I want to mention, but is there anything outside of the kind of ones we've mentioned already that might be players in this?
Well, I mean, Amsterdam and William Money are the two, aren't they? But I mean, William Money, I'm surprised not going Arkle. Looks a chaser to be. Be a bit surprised if he's quick enough. But it's an open year. I mean, if you think if it cuts up, I mean, it could cut up to like only another 5 or 6 runners, and you can take 14 to 1 each way, and you've got half the field running into a place for you. So you can nick third or something like that. Amsterdam, I think, has a lot of potential, but he's really fizzy. He needs to settle. Does a lot wrong still. Could be too much too soon for him. There's rumours he might go fighting fifth, but I think that died down a little bit. So there might be a kind of softer option for him, and there'll be others that will come out the woodwork from somewhere. Cababunga, if he can get fit enough. Rancy might be staying over hurdles, for instance. Turned over Kopek the board pretty convincingly at Punchestown. If you don't think that's a fluke, owned by JP, he might be a kind of Espoir de Len dark horse everyone's forgetting about. So yeah, there'll be a couple, 3 or 4 Golden Ace won it last year, so I mean, anything can happen really.
Yeah, a couple. Just I do think William Money's an interesting kind of diversion to come here. I do think he has a bit of pace. Again, if it does kind of cut up, he could be a player. Ronsi, I think, was one of the very few Willie Mullins horses last season, particularly novice hurdlers, who actually jumped mostly pretty well. He had a bad mistake at Fairyhouse after Cheltenham. I think Cheltenham, he was just there for a run. Like,
they were rushing. They were definitely rushing to get him there, weren't they?
Mm-hmm. I can see him potentially being a player, but at the moment we're kind of both in the State Man camp. If I were to have a bet, it'd be State Man.
It's a clear bet at 7-1. He's actually probably the most appealing open race bet around at the moment.
Awesome. Let's go to the Champion Chase, the 2 mile chase division. Hasn't been a kind race for us in the years, and we'll see what happens here. Very interesting market at the moment. Last year's winner, Marine National, was at 4-1, along with Sergino. Obviously, we'll touch on him in a minute. Masborough 7-1. You've got Ellie to Toms, who we'll see tomorrow at Clonmel at 10s. Caliph de Belly and John Bond 14s, and then you've got the kind of likes of Fact to File, who again probably isn't going to come here. I think there's no chance of that. There's not much else in between. It's a load of Sud, Caliph de Belly we mentioned already, Ali Francais potentially, but is this a market that you can't touch until we know what's happening with Sergino?
Probably, yeah. I mean, you've seen Sarah come updates, Nicky Henderson. It's much more conservative with him, isn't it?
Yeah.
Than your Lalambas of the world in Constitution Hills. So can we take it softly? Can he stand up to rigours of training? Possibly. And then he'll have to take a race and then kind of litmus test of Cheltenham. I suspect he is different league to these.
Okay.
If he's fully fit. But it's a considerable if at the moment, even though he's been off track for some time. The issue itself sounds pretty complex. They knock the stuffing out of him a little bit, taking a long time to come back. Can they really kind of find a kind of softish opener for him on ground that would need to be, seems to be all accounts, need to be soft ground as well as a starting point, which might be tricky if it's, say, Kempton at Christmas time, because that's difficult to get. the weather not playing ball. So yeah, and I think he's kind of gone out a little bit in the last couple of weeks as a result of that. Because there's a lot of viable alternatives.
Marine National, obviously last year's winner, who, well, gives a great story, phenomenal reception for him to win. Masborough, I still watch that Arkle back every couple of weeks. And I'm actually, the more and more I watch it, the more stunned I am that he actually nearly won it.
Oh yeah, yeah. He was right there. He kind of banked the last two and had many mistakes before it, and was still kind of thereabouts. Made amends at Punchestown, but again, he's kind of running down fences, and to me, at 2 miles, it's still happened just a shade too quick for him, and I don't really see that improving of the champion chase. And to
Would you ever go
me,
on Arm Trip?
yeah, I would be Ryanair all day long. But the thing is, it's Willie Mullins, who I don't think has anything else for the champion chase. Really, you see, LIT Tom's not a Cheltenham horse,
No.
and I think they'll definitely try and make him the premier 2 mile chaser. The Energumines on the wane. Gaelic Warrior could do it, but again, they've gone up trip with him. So, and GP McManus and Willie Mullins already have fact to file, and there's still possibilities that fact to file could go up to 3 miles, for instance. So, it'd be interesting to see what happens. He could clash with Marine National early on, and that could give you an early pointer to things. But and maybe just needs that extra year. He won a triumph, and that was probably on pedigree. Difficult to do for a backward take. He's a big rangy kind of scopy horse. He kind of did that by being a bit of a klutz, and the Arkle he just didn't get away with it. But his supreme talent kind of left him involved, only beating a length and a half at the line by kind of floundering them, and he didn't really back out of it up the hill either. So he has this unbelievable presence and tremendous engine, and that's definitely still there. Punchestown got away with it. You can imagine him demolishing everything at Leopardstown, for instance. I think that's his track, but I think it'd be far more effective over further and far more effective in a more galloping track, which would be the new course. I mean, I would like to see him. I mean, he looks a future Gold Cup horse to me.
That's what we thought when we saw him. Remember that was.
That's what he is.
Yeah.
There's no thinking about it. I mean, that is what he undoubtedly is to me. And we said that with Fact to File as well. And we did an extra year, and they didn't even bother going hurdles with him. I think this is the time where these two should gradually step up and trip for me.
Well, Willie Mullins seemed to be toying with the idea, certainly at the end of the season, that he was going to bring Fact to File down and trip. Is there a world where but is there a world he could try it again? Because remember he tried it with Allaho and he said, I'm going to, it always feels as if he wants to try
tried
this
it
one.
Punchestown and Marine National made him look like a boat because it happened too quickly for him. So, I mean, you saw it. I mean, you see it all the time. They think, oh, he could go down and trip. It doesn't work.
No, it doesn't.
It's not work because they're not fast enough. It's like you get a 2 mile chaser up to like 3 and a bit miles. They won't stay.
No. Elliot Tomp is an interesting one because we'll see him tomorrow. We'll get an idea of where he is. I don't think he's a Cheltenham horse. I think they were absolutely gobsmacked that he beat John Bonnet Sandown. But there's definitely talent there. It's just I think he's more likely to win a Tingle Creek and then potentially go to Leopardstown and then Aintree. I don't think you'll see him at Cheltenham.
Well, like these Cheltenham Festival records there, he has a talent to kind of participate in it. They might take their chance. Because you just want to kind of see the calibre of horses at Cheltenham. You want to see him take his chance, and if it doesn't work out for him, then you probably see him at Aintree. It's just his Cheltenham Festival records patchy. I mean, he had a good run in the Triumph, second novice Supreme Hurdle that he ran pretty poorly in when he was decently fancied. His novice chasing days didn't quite work out for him there at Cheltenham again, and you do have to wonder if he's a Cheltenham Festival horse. I think last season, they were desperate to kind of get him up to speed, and they kind of surprised him by how quickly he came out and did that. Turning over John Bond, who maybe had one race too many by then. But yeah, he's a tricky kind of unit to place. You can see him I can see him winning at the DRF or something like that, and not firing at Cheltenham or something. I just don't see, particularly at 6-1. And he'd be the one at the top of the market. I'd be the least interested in, without a doubt.
What about John Bon? Beat in it last year. Is this 14s is massive, right? Because he will win. I think he'll win a Grade One this year.
Yeah.
Is he? Will he win it? Is he gone at Cheltenham though? Is his time past?
Well, he had a golden opportunity last year, wasn't it? He didn't take it, and again, where he shaped as if he made these kind of mistakes, and he's shaping as if he wants 2.5 now. It's clearly the end of the season he wanted it, um, and is that where his future lies at the intermediate trip?
What about King George? There was King George chatting about after the
Exactly, it's
Ainties.
Shishkin all over again, isn't it?
Yeah,
It seems to steadily go up and trip, and then they do it too late. Um, we'll see what happens, but I mean, to me, he now wants 2.5. I think they'll campaign him as a 2 miler. Probably get a similar kind of British campaign to Marlborough, and that we'll just keep him at 2 miles until there is absolute 100% evidence that he can't handle the trip and go up. The thing is, if they both turn up, if they all kind of turn up, there's going to be a wicked pace on it. It'll suit them. Excess stamina if they can kind of keep into it. But just another, it's just not quite happened for them at Cheltenham Festival. And now a year older, a race at this stage, it's very early, that looks a lot tougher than the penalty kick I had last year. It's pretty hard to get round to supporting them.
anything you can see stepping up?
Caliph de Burley is the best jumper in the field. One of the best. Okay, Aintree was weak, but his jumping is spawn. Like Colwell Potter, who's out now, but he jumps really quick and put them to the sword quite quickly. And it's a jumping test, this old course. When that second last comes, you can come a cropper at the last two quite quickly. You saw Mars win the Arkle. Quilixios at the last year. It's well, no matter how good you are, if you take a massive knock at the last two, it'll finish your race. And he's quick, electric, sharp, very accurate jumper. Took a while for Paul Nicol, a bit like Colwell Potter a little bit. Took him a while to figure him out. Got through the gears steadily. He has Cheltenham form. It's okay, it's at a lower level, but he could definitely handle the track. Aintree probably wasn't the strongest Grade 1, but he was impressive in doing it. Don't be surprised if he's up to this level, and his jumping in this context is a massive asset. And odds of 14s aren't too bad because Paul Nichol's already nominated, so he's definitely going to go here. It's definitely going to be campaigned as if he's a champion chaser.
Well, just on that, he is declared to run in the Haldon Gold Cup, but if you're watching this, I would be very surprised if he takes that up because there's no rain coming.
There, is
nah.
So that might cut up. I mean, we'll see. It's kind of logical starting point for Paul Nichol's horses, and he's also one that would handle decent ground and seasonal reappearance. So he might hold his ground, but even Paul Nicholls was saying that even off that mark, even at the start of the season, if he was to be a championship chaser, you'd expect him to kind of win or go really close. So that's a kind of risk reward thing. If you do fancy him, do make the grade, then you could have a burnt ticket by this time on Saturday. So, but if he does show it, are they really going to cut him that much? Doesn't take much to cut him into trim into tens or something. But I won't be playing. But he's definitely the one of interest because I think his jumping is very, very good and assured at this trip. Well, some of them above would have kind of question marks, maybe barring Marine National, of course. But yeah, I think he's in with a chance. And Paul Nicholls rates him very highly. He won it with Politolog, so you can see him trying to execute prominent tactics and force mistakes from rivals in behind, and it's a good way to go around Cheltenham, particularly modern racing, where it's pretty hard for these kind of slower horses to make up ground now.
Yeah, but at the kind of moment you're kind of Caliph de Burley, I'm keeping my powder dry. I think it's just a race. I don't have any anti-post appealing at all. Right, let's go to the Stairs Hurdle market. We have quite a fascinating market here. Ballyburn 5-1 coming back over hurdles. Tia Hupu, who's a solid one at 11-2. Yellow Clay at 10-1. Last year's winner Bob Ollinger at 14. So he likes at East India Dock. You've got Derry Haas and Paddy. Bob Ollinger is at Bob Ollinger's 14-20. He likes at Irish Point, who I think is going over fences. Jimmy DeSoy as well, Hidden Valley Lake, the Big Westerner, Mystical Power. It's not a great market, is it? It's not nothing. It's not getting any better every year, is it?
I mean, it's a top four to primarily focus on. Tiahupu, Ballyburn, the Yellow Clay, Bob Ollinger, really. I think everything went right for Bob Ollinger last year. He didn't go hard enough. His turn of foot won the day over Tiahupu. Probably won a really good kind of sign-off Rachel Blackmore ride. If they go harder here, I mean, Ballyburn could outclass them all on his old kind of novice form.
I was watching a Paddy Power preview, and Patrick Mullen's words were, "Don't give up on him over fences."
Well,
That doesn't put you off back in the
Yeah.
first hurdle. It's the right move, though. I mean, looking at ratings, he's level with Bob. He's level with Tiahupu in ratings and over hurdles, and he's only £2 lower than Bob Ollinger. So it doesn't have to necessarily improve. And after fences, like, you can understand why they're coming back to hurdles.
Yeah, I mean, fences was just kind of disastrous, really. Kind of lost his kind of technique. Just nothing kind of right. There was no kind of conviction about him. He didn't really get high enough over his fences. So,
No.
yeah, you can definitely see why they're kind of reverting to this. Well, at least reverting to this initially, because he wouldn't be the first horse to kind of just run over hurdles and then go straight back over fences. Maybe that's what he needs, is just kind of a bit of confidence, over the hurdles, and then it's back chasing. Because it's funny, he's bred to be a chaser, but he's just not quite cutting over his fences, and he never really truly cut over his fences at, maybe barring one race at Leopardstown, the IDRF. Apart from that, it didn't really kind of fully convince. He could get back on track. He makes this division a bit more interesting
He
than
was
it
beat
was.
early doors in the Brown Advisory. Like, it was your card was marked early on with him in the Brown
Yeah,
Advisory.
and that wasn't a great race, I thought, either.
Yeah.
So, and Punchestown as well, where the market kind of was quick to forgive him, and
Yeah.
he was even more disappointing, because you're thinking that Champ Kiley's right there to be picked up, and he still couldn't really do it, and it didn't look good in stamina grounds either. So he does have a bit to prove here, and again, like every year, the one that's going to be up there, certainly going to win it, will be second. Tiahupu should be favourite.
Yeah.
Really, Wander's now 10. Tiahupu's a bit younger. If they go quicker and more sensible pace.
Who was the last 11-year-old to win the Stairs Hurdle?
God, I don't know.
It was only 3 years ago. Probably gives it away.
I've gone blank.
It was Sire de Berley, and there wasn't one before that since 1976. Bob Ollinger's a weird one, though, because he always peaks at Cheltenham, but he's not the one you can trust. You can never trust, but there's always, like, do you know what I mean? He's been well beaten during the season, comes to Cheltenham and peaks.
Classic Henry de Bromhead fair, isn't it? He kind of works them back. They start out really quickly. You've seen this season, punting right now. There's 2 yards he'd back blind in October. It's all the Murphy yard and the Henry de Bromhead yard. That's all you really need to kind of do. And they'll go missing maybe at Christmas time or New Year time a little bit, and then they'll come back for March. And I think that's how he trains them. So it wouldn't worry me that. It's just, I think, a year older. I don't think he's going to get this tactical setup again. There's no, with the Yellow Clay supposed to go in there to be a 3-miler. I don't see Gordon Elliott coming with his, and this is a race. This is kind of how the Grade 1 race, really, that will be the banker for Tiahupu that they'll be thinking of. They will not go that slow again.
No,
it can't develop like that they did last year. I think that's probably
the Yellow Clay been in here. Like, is that, like, I know he was meant to be shot it down. I think the round was too quick, but he's certainly a decent player. It's just the way he fell at Punchestown. I couldn't back him until I knew he was over that. I'd imagine he is, but that was a crashing fall that day.
Crashing fall, and he was coming off second best as well in that duel, and it was a battle state for a promising run at Cheltenham, of course. 10's, it's reasonable enough. Is it? He's a good novice coming up into a division that's not massively strong. I'd neither be here nor there with him, really. Hidden Valley Lake were at Aintree, but they just don't really come here with them, do they?
No.
And you might get others down the line that'll end up reverting here.
Can I throw one at you, who we've already seen this season, who I was more confident than I was on Saturday? Potter's charm. He fell, but I know he'll need to improve a stone, but
Overrated horses in training. I mean, I
it's,
remember
it's
how short he was for Cheltenham last year.
but that he blew up.
Ridiculous.
If you could ask any yard to have a do-over, they wouldn't have ran him at Cheltenham Trials Day, because I think that just spent him for the Ballymore or
And
whatever.
they couldn't resist the temptation of just running him.
Yeah,
And did they bottom him, or was his form that good coming into it?
probably wasn't. No,
I
but
don't think he's an open one. One that I quite liked, and it's got a propensity for stairs. There's a lot to find him at, like Marshan 2,
Mhm.
who won that per temp qualifying October meeting easily,
yes,
and will go to Haydock for the same race that Paisley Park won, and he continuously improved. And Marshan 2 was a horse that I quite liked in Albert Bartlett, didn't quite fire, but too much too soon, raced a bit too fresh, and he was just too inexperienced. And like many, at just that early stage of his career, didn't get up the hill that day. But he set lovely there, the Pear Thompson 3 mile race. He won it easily, okay, maybe very well in. But if he takes that other step to Haydock, wins that, he won't be going for the Pear Temps. Be trained as a graded horse, and you don't need much to be a graded horse in this division. And
no,
I think at 50-1, he is by a long, long way, because he's a hurdler, and everything else, second, third, fourth, fifth, is going fencing that Albert Bartlett. He's by a long, long way the most interested outside in that race.
that's interesting. Yeah, Matt, he very well
At
could.
50s. And Emma Lavelle.
Do you know how to win this race?
Is he Paisley Park? Probably not, because he doesn't race behind the bridle and kind of accelerate away. But he, off 135, he won that fairly easily, and he was backed. He was back to the days if he was an absolute cast iron certainty in a race. It would look pretty competitive.
Yeah.
Paper before, so now I think he's into 143 territory. Now you only need to be 150 to be grade 2 standard. If he goes up and wins at Haydock in a similar fashion to that, he'd be a 150 horse, and then you'd have to go into graded races, and he'd be a big player.
Yeah, I can absolutely see the angle. So you're giving a shout out to Mashan too. I'm on the fence, but if I was to have a bet now, it probably would be
at the top of the market.
Would be Tia Hoopu, and maybe keep your powder dry for Potter's Charm. Right, let's get into staying chasers. We'll cover kind of Ryanair, Gold Cup, and King George in the kind of one segment. We've got just Gold Cup. I know the way you're thinking, 7-2. Galloping the Champs 6-1. Fact to File was 12-1 here and 15-8 for the Ryanair Chase. Gaelic Warrior, Fast or Slow, Haiti Kalua, Lecky Watson, Nick Rocket. Right, let's go with the Gold Cup first. I know the way you're thinking was clearly as a better horse at Cheltenham, jumped as well as he's ever done at Cheltenham, beat Galloping the Champs on the day. At the moment, Galloping the Champs is behind by the sounds of it. Maybe not see him in the John Durkin. Can Galloping the Champs reverse the form at this point?
Oh yes, yeah, he could. Yeah, easily could. I mean, I know the way you're thinking was trained to have one go Galloping the Champs on the big day, got his ground, and delivered a big performance. Up to that point, it was very hard to see Galloping the Champs get beat. I think he maybe ran slightly flat after having 3 runs beforehand, and I think skipping a John Durkin would do him no harm at all.
Tremor was mentioned.
Yeah.
You wouldn't be surprised if they just go, right, we'll give him a wee bit of a
going to Tremor would be ridiculous because his Leopardstown record is superb. Why would you bother doing that? So if he did go to Tremor, then his setback's probably more serious than you think. That's the only way they would do that.
I'm not necessarily gutted if he goes to if he misses Punchestown. I don't see the issue starting him in the goal.
Why would you have him? He's done it 3-4 years now. Why would you have him going around 2.5 miles? It's a pointless exercise.
And the one he won was a terrible race. The one he
and
won
particularly after missing it, it's probably part of him leaving Cheltenham behind was having that race early on. So yeah, just knock him into Christmas and start him there, and he'd probably peak at a more kind of meaningful time of the season. And so yeah, I mean, a horse like that, it's got nothing to prove. I wouldn't bother running him over the wrong trip, particularly when it would probably free up Paul Tenney maybe to ride a kind of more novice that's got something to prove. It's usually kind of probably be Lecky Watts or something like that. That we might throw in there, that you could kind of test against the new flag bearer at that distance, Fact to File. He's going to run plenty in there anyway, so you might as well run your 2.5 milers there, and have more of a starting point with him. So the reverse form, yes, I think he could. I think he does need soft ground to be seen at his best. He didn't get that. It was kind of drying out a little bit Friday. I think he does need it to be soft. I know the way you're thinking. Kind of Gold Cup winner be campaigned as he was last year, I think would be pretty unsatisfactory. Not really just kind of peaking for one day.
You wouldn't be surprised if he gets beat every race before Cheltenham.
Well, he's going John Durker, isn't he?
Yeah.
And I think you'd expect him to show a bit more in the Irish Gold Cup or at Christmas. Maybe that race at Christmas would be his for the taking if Galloping the Shop needed it or something like that. So you'd expect at least one big effort before Cheltenham to kind of conclusively prove that he's at the very very top. So
it's 36 lengths beaten than John Durkin last year.
Yeah, and he was only really in the Gold Cup radar after his eye-catching staying on third of it. He's coming to Boyle, but everyone thought it was a Grand National, so he was overlooked.
Yeah.
So he kind of caught. There's no doubt he's top class because it was top class performance, but he kind of caught everyone in the hop last year. And being the defending champion, that's not going to happen this year. He's going to be much more alert to his danger. So, while he's the rightful favourite because he's the defending champion on that performance, he has to prove that it's not an outlier to kind of his general look in the form book. So, yeah, it's out of all the open races, it's the biggest no bet race of the beaten at the moment for me.
Anything you like in it outside the top two? Like, again, we'll cover we'll cover Fact to File quickly. Like, Fact to File 5-2, is that Ryan Hale? Can you see him going Gold Cup?
Yeah, I can see them trying it. Given the way they talked about him last year, he's talked about as a future Gold Cup horse. I just think that it's maybe not on the agenda because the owner has a favourite. And Willie Mullins is a clear second favourite and third favourite really in Gaelic Warrior if he went here as well. So, and this is where it gets problematic when there's too many good horses and too few hands, because I would like to kind of see him given a tilt the Gold Cup, but there's no incentive for the trainer, the owner, to do that. So, because I do think he's worth having another go at 3 miles, because when they tried it going back to 2 miles, they tried it because they had nothing else in the race really, and thought, oh well, that was a quite explosive Ryanair performance. We'll try it. And then it just never worked. He was rushed off his feet by Marine National.
Do you think he's better than Allaho at this point? Like when Allaho won his first Ryanair, do you think? Okay.
No, I don't. I don't know. I don't quite. I just don't see it, because I actually think a lot of people get carried away with his Ryanair performance because I think so many favourites get sunk in the first 2 days. And I think, this is what favourites supposed to do. It's finally a conventional performance, one for the punters, blah, blah, blah. It was a race that he was entitled to win by a long way. You know, I mean, it's a Ryanair. Okay, it's a great one, but it's for horses that aren't good enough for Gold Cup, or intermediate horses that are kind of grade 2 level. You know, I mean, look at Heartwoods and Envoy Arms are placing. You know, it's that's the level. You know, he should be expected to win that, no matter how he races, if he's too keen or not. And if you want to be a top notcher, we win a kind of really profile. Unless he's a specialist at it, if he keeps proving it, and like Alho did, he'll burn them off from the front and do that. He would be better than Alho if he turns up, wins a King George doing handstands, because Alho couldn't do that when he was given the opportunity despite coming back from a setback. But in fact, if I was doing it more in his prime in his career than Alho did. So be interested to see how he's campaigned, because he was always kind of earmarked to be a Gold Cup horse down the line, and he wasn't really given that opportunity because he was just put in his place by Gallopin Deschamps at the time. And there might be a time where Gallopin Deschamps kind of, maybe he doesn't quite get there this season, and Willie Mullins should be kind of looking at Fact of Final trying to be the one to challenge. But there's a lot of kind of moving parts in that division that you need to sort out for that to happen by the looks of it. So it seems to be John Durkin, it seems to be King George, and it seems to be Ryanair. That would probably be the most likely route, but it could change. I think he's one that could change, and because it could change, because there's a small percentage chance of it, I wouldn't really touch him for anything at the moment.
Anything you like Gold Cup, Ryanair, kind of Cheltenham wise, kind of 2.5 mile, 3 mile chasers that are catching your eye at the moment?
Gaelic Warrior's getting there, isn't he? He seems to have decent enough form. Horticouleur still improvement, and I know the way you're thinking won that kind of race. And I mean, he's kind of come out won an Irish national since. You don't know how good he could be. So there's others. I mean, it's just the fact that the novices are well down the pecking order on this. Grey Dawning, if he comes out the Betfield Chase, could start fulfilling his potential a little bit more. Jerry Colombe out of it, Perry Pass, horses like that. It's going to be pretty difficult for them, isn't it? Because when we're talking about these horses like Champion Hurdle, like 160s, you need to get mid 170s to win a Gold Cup, and all of a sudden you've got horses here that are way more to find.
I don't think last year's novices were that good, to be honest. I don't think
the staying ones weren't.
Yeah, and if I was to give you a bet for the King George at the moment, who would you have?
Well, I mean, I'll leave that to one of the horses to follow. But I mean, there doesn't seem to be any interest in going there. So I mean, it probably is Factifiles. So for his mercy, isn't it? I mean, Factifile or Gaelic Warrior, isn't it?
Gaelic Warrior 94.
Willie Mullins sends one of his better ones, and he's going to be pretty hard to stop, isn't he?
Mm-hmm.
He'll need to be quick and fluent. So. Factifile probably, because Ellie Francie will be there, won't he? So he'll go lickety split and probably set up for him.
Yeah, Gaelic Warrior again. I'd rather he won't win a Gold Cup. I said that though. He's been a horse that you've never been able. I couldn't see him winning an Arkle, and you couldn't see him winning a Betway Bowl. It's just he's a weird horse to follow, but I can see him winning a King George.
Both turn up and look at Sky Bet, for instance. I mean, Gaelic Warrior 5-2, Factifile 9-2. I would rather back Factifile.
I've been of the opinion for a long time Faster Slow can win a King George.
Well, he needs to come back, isn't he?
Yeah. Django Bay.
Django Bay, I think.
Jukebox Man's interesting as well. But again, is he good enough? Is he good enough to beat a Gaelic Warrior?
He's one that you need to see, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
Maybe Hartwood coming over could have an each wee squeak. It depends how much it cuts up with these other ones.
Grey Dawning won't go. They won't make that mistake again to go to King George.
Pick Dorhill running the Silviniaco Conti, won't he? So, yeah. I mean, he might get something. So, but I mean, 9-2 Factifile seems more than fair for that. And they've mentioned the race often enough, haven't they? So yeah, probably him.
I think the owner wants to win a King George. Well, you've heard it for years. I think he'll still be looking back at the tour, thinking, "How did I not win that?" I don't think he's had many to try since. Like he's
right-handed, of course. It should be up his arse.
And again, if they do bring Lossmouth and Gaelic Warrior, you can see them potentially. I think Gaelic Warrior is certainly more likely to go here than Factifile.
Yeah, I think that's why that reflects in the prices, doesn't it? But he's mentioned them both, and if you think that Factifile is a 2.5 mile on a Ryanair horse, and I mean that's why Allaho went there. Allaho tried his hand into the Saddles Chase didn't get home, and then the year after they decided to go King George route. Now, I think Facty Files get more proven stamina than an Allaho would. Um, I think he'd handily step up to 3 miles. I know they say Kempton's sharp track and things like that, but you do need to stay at the end. I mean, you saw Hewitt come out from the back and win when you can tie up at the front. It's still 3 miles. It depends how sharp it is, but it might be flat, but you still know if you walk 3 miles on flat ground. So
yeah, Banbridge winning it last year, it was a perfect setup for Banbridge, wasn't it? Like it
yeah, and he
couldn't
just
have been any
stuck to
better.
his task and got there. Again, a reasonably classy Irish horse coming over and kind of winning. So I
Townend
think,
on board.
and with Caldwell Potter out, the British Challenge I think is definitely significantly weaker. So I mean, Django Bay could do it. I see a few people talk him up as a horse to follow. I suspect he might be slightly below that top class 11.
Yeah.
And if it cuts up King George, I mean, he could take that out, but I think he might be kind of pressing it. He was fortunate to win the Arkle. I think he'd probably have to be equally fortunate again to win a big one.
Yeah, well, let's move into some novice chasers. Let's go with the kind of 2 mile division. You've got Kopek de Boer, the supreme runner at 72, Lalamba 92. We're not fully sure he's going over fences yet. You've got Romeo Coolio, who won last day in Down Royal, Salvatore Monday, Kawabunga, Brighter Days Ahead. You've got Kyrgyz. I don't want to say it's between the top two, but is it between the top two?
Yeah, we've seen Romeo Coolio come out, haven't we? Salvador Mundy could have an impact in it. Kyrgyz, possibly if they go that route. So I don't think it's completely cut and dry. Particularly Kopek the board, very good horse, pretty good in the Supreme. His engine gets him out of trouble most times. It didn't at Punchestown where he keeps knocking hurdles over quite badly. He even
Yeah.
did it at Cheltenham quite a lot. We actually
He
watched
missed a
back.
couple at Cheltenham, yeah.
Maybe some rivals in behind kind of underperformed that day as well. So his reverse at Punchestown maybe wasn't as shocking as most people think. And he put in a big figure at Leopardstown, of course, didn't he? When he did look the second coming, and that was kind of the best we've seen. And Cheltenham only had to really repeat that to win, and he failed to do so at Punchestown. But he would need to treat his fences with a lot more respect than his hurdles, and I think that's still a question that would need to be asked. No reason why he won't, but and I just think Lalamba would be a more natural chaser, if slightly less natural at 2 miles. But Stayers can win Arkles, we know that. When Nicky Henderson won it with Django Bay, he stayed on best to win. From off the pace, Shishkin ended up being a stayer. Altor could have ended up being a stayer. John Bond get beat, but that was by a good horse in El Fabiolo. So, and you can see these two kind of clashing like that, and hopefully we get it. Hopefully they both go this way. Hopefully they both look as good as they are, and hopefully they meet in March and have a good dust up. I prefer Lalamba personally to Kopek the board at this very early stage. I wouldn't be putting any money on it.
Nah.
But I think it's hard to look past it. I thought for Romeo Coolio, when they took out half the fences at Down Royal, I thought he jumped them well. But he looked a bit slow for a 2 miler. And
Yeah.
we know his level over hurdles, and it looks to be same again, really, for fences. And
I thought Mighty
we
Potter
see
vibe
it
was the
quite
first
often
thought.
with,
Mighty Potter vibes, I thought.
well, we see it quite often with
Yeah.
Gordon Elliott horses, 2.5 miles. Pushing 3, I think it'd be too slow. I mean, remember, like Hardline, for instance, things like that's just not quick enough.
Mm-hmm.
His horses just aren't quick enough for Arkles. And he looks like another one to me. I think, if it cuts up, found the 50 for it just seems second. I can see him being an honourable, hard-working second, but it needs to be a kind of, dare I say, an Edwardstone year for Romeo Coolio to win it. And just, he might be a solid one. His jump's going to help him. It's a good asset. But he was just below kind of top class. So he might be again at this distance. Go to Drinmore as well. And without having that 2.5 mile race in open company now, these horses are now very difficult to place in terms of Cheltenham anyway. So he's definitely one to monitor and like, and he'd probably win the Drin more, but he's just stuck between a rock and a hard place now with the schedule, and is the Brown Advisory going to ask too much of him? Is the Arkle he's just going to be a bit too slow for? So you don't know. I mean, he might be one on the day where you're on weather watch, thinking, if it's really soft, we'll go Arkle. If it's quick, we'll go Browns. So he
or fling him in the Jack Richards off top weight.
Could do. He did that Firefox, didn't he? Could do that. So yeah, that's exactly what they might do. Gordon Elliot's certainly not afraid to do that off 150. So yeah, you'd imagine he'd turn up in something, but again, it's pretty difficult to come to a concrete conclusion of what he's going to do. Salvador Mundy is another one that's got potential. Over a fence, again, a bit fizzy like Kopech the board and give him a bit more respect, but he looked a bit more mature the last day than he was Cheltenham. So I think he's a horse that's getting the hang of things, and he's got potential, so he wouldn't be out of it. Cargies, is quite high class. If she's going over there, and she's definitely kind of proved that she's probably more of a 2 mile and a 2.5 mile, so it would probably suit more than the mare's chase. Yeah. If she does go chasing, so yeah, I can see her doing that. And Brighter Days Ahead's probably mare's chase bound. Work Ahead might be one that improves for a fence if they go that way. July Flower was quite rapid in her season debut. I mean, she looked quite slow in the mare's hurdle, but maybe just one of these Henry de Bromhead horses for fencing. Can she put the kettle on, come over for the November meeting, beat the British Challenge, and surprise him with the mare's allowance? Wouldn't be the worst 33 poke.
Kopech to be.
Got a lot to prove after that Martin Pipe. I thought it was disappointing, and Willie Mullins says that he works better than what he's put in the track. So
should have won at Aintree though. Still sickens me he didn't win at Aintree.
Well, again, that might be another reason not to. But lump sum looked pretty good.
Yeah.
Of the midweek, high class improves. So
might see one today, 6 Mile Bridge, maybe not good enough for an Arkle, but potentially a British option.
Plenty to find. I think.
What about Be Aware?
Well, Be Aware might be the one that goes and takes on that kind of November race. I would be more interested in July Flower. As an outsider, Lucky Place could go this way. Maybe not Arkle, maybe more kind of 2.5, but maybe and maybe 3 miles as well. But yeah, there's definitely a few of them that could definitely kind of come out from here and do surprisingly well. But yeah, I mean, the one at a price would probably be July Flower the most interesting, but it is kind of the top of the market's kind of rightfully dominating things, don't they? They look like the kind of top class prospects. I'd be interested to see what they do. I do think Lalamba will go for fences eventually. It's kind of uncertain and a little bit playing cards close to their chest. I think it's another kind of Constitution Hill, Sergino early question of how fit Sergino this time. Remember when Sergino kind of came in and deputised for Constitution Hill? I think they're kind of maybe thinking that way with Lalamba in terms of what way do we go here, because the same ownership, Lalamba and Sergino.
Yeah, and again, like, where does he go? Because you look at the Henry VIII, obviously the same day as Tingle Creek Day. I'd imagine you want to get a run into him before that, if that's the plan, or do you do what you do?
At least Sergino looked quick enough as well to be a champion hurler. Not sure Lalamba's kind of got that kind of gear.
I think Sergino's got more patience.
And the juvenile form of last season,
it's not looking good.
It's a bit questionable, doesn't it?
Yeah. So you like Lalamba. I think Lalamba probably at the moment to Kopech.
Lalamba at the top, but if I had a free bet in it, I would back July Flower each way.
Okay, I've kind of not got much of an opinion on it. I've got a bit more of an opinion on the 3 milers because I've got Final Demand at 6-1. It's one of the very few Cheltenham bets I've done. I backed Final Demand at 6-1 shortly after the festival last year, and he's now 3s. You can get 11-4 as well. Well, 3-1 is the biggest price you can get. Is he the second coming?
I would rather have your 6-1 ticket than backy at
I
night.
don't think 6-1's a great price, but it's better than threes. But
Yeah, I mean, probably. He's looked every inch a chaser, isn't he? I think what he did Punchestown probably surprised people a little bit, and how quick and clinical he was. Maybe helped by his old rival Yellow Clay is second the market despite going over fences. So, um, yeah, he's definitely there. And Yasmin Devoy being out as well has completely helped shorten him in the market. So, I mean, he's two of your kind of chief dangers are already gone by the wayside there. So, I think that's why he has to be that short. So, yeah, he's a big runner. He was probably part of the strongest novice hurdle race at Cheltenham with the new Lion, who's champion hurdle favourite, and the Yellow Clays high up Steers hurdle market, and those three pulled away as if they're really all three really good horses. And he's the one that's came out and backed it up massively as well with his Punchestown effort. So yeah, he's indisputably rightfully up there, but it's just that short that far out. It's definitely the only race for him, isn't it? With like 2.5 out, wouldn't imagine him going elsewhere. So and he does look every inch a 3 mile chaser. So yeah, I mean, if you looked at it, I think maybe look at all the markets right now. I think he's probably the shortest, probably the banker or the bankers at the moment, and you can see why. But it's just a long way to get there. And there's some others. Jimmy Desoy won Cup quite well, and he's kind of come back from the wilderness a little bit, and he was high class, second in a Ballymore back of his days well, when he was pretty unconsidered, and then came back and won a Coral Cup. So he's got good Cheltenham form. We don't really know how good he is, and he can maybe make the grades a novice chaser. Derry Aston Parry's well thought of up here in the north and could come out on Saturday at Aintree. And the big Westerner looks a classic Kennedy de Bromhead improver. Game of inches going straight over fences, Rocky's Diamond, good Stain hurdle form that's already made a successful transition. So, and I mean, Lalamba might need 3 miles earlier than people think of going up fences. So there's plenty. Honesty Policy as well is another one that could make the grade. So if you're not a kind of 94 Steve In backer and you want you're compelled to have a few, then there's definitely a few decent each way alternatives that do look. Derry Aston Parry, the Big Western 2 and 3, and Albert Bartlett were definite chasers. You know what I mean? Derry Aston Parry in particular was massive, and the Big Western for Mayor as well.
Wendigo as well.
Big Wendigo as well. I don't think is as talented as they two.
Nah, probably not. But
yeah. I think Derry Aston Parry's going for the Giovinco race, and remember Giovinco was third. I mean, Giovinco, there was only 5 in that Brown advisory. Now, I mean, Derry Aston Parry's, you don't really see him. He probably has to run there. It's remarkable how often these races can still cut up. You could back in each wee shot if you're 16, 20s, 25s right now. If you get it right and get a runner, you could get places each 5, 6. So I mean, that's a bit sad and desperate. But if you're having a bet right now, I'm not looking at winners. I'm looking at places. I'm looking at, well, if Cheltenham Festival really is kind of going to the dogs a little bit in a betting sense, and we're getting 5 runner fields, 6 runner fields, odds on shots, favourite. Who's going to turn up in the right race at a price potentially? And if you can maybe get a sneaky kind of 33, 40 to 1 ticket early on, and it cuts up the 5, 6, 7 runner heat, then you only need to be next, second, or third at a price, and that is going to be a massive bigger winner than back in final demand at 94 right now, and see them going off 47 winning. Yeah, well, so what-ish the thing, you can get a place at 8 to 1 if you pick the right one.
Yeah.
And so it's a kind of maybe bleak way of looking at it, but it might be the only kind of profitable angle in this far out. So final demand, massive respect, got to get there, definitely the one to beat. But as I mentioned, there are 5 or 6 that you could definitely shortlist, and not a million miles behind either. Albert Bartlett form, well, seen with the seventh with Marchand too already. Could be better than it looked. I think Yasmin Devoy just can outclass him a little bit and is a bit of a klutz, but that won a champion bumper, so probably fair to say that was a classy horse. Probably more interesting in the Steers Hurdle than, say, Ballyburn would be if they made it. So yeah, definitely the second and third, the Big Western, Derry Ass and Paddy, definitely shaped like they would improve £10 for a fence.
Yeah,
And the fact they did that in their Novice Hurling days, I think was maybe a big plus. So they'd be the two immediate dangers to the favourite.
yeah, I'd imagine the plan for Final Demand, if everything goes to plan, would be a kind of beginner's chase maybe the end of November, and then I would imagine they go for Heen at Limerick. Imagine that would be the plan because they've extended that to, I think it's 2 mile 6 now. And
Yeah, I
then
think they've brought the 2 mile race in, haven't they? And got rid of the 3 miles.
yes, yeah, there's no longer a 3 mile at Leopardstown over Christmas. I think they brought back the 2 mile. So Limerick, imagine onto the DRF and then on to Cheltenham. But you can kind of see how
They
his
might
kind of
they might even delay their beginners later, not run at Limerick because it's still 2.5. It can be sharp. I know it's usually ballless. It doesn't matter, but they do whip round that bend quite quickly.
he won a maiden hurdle there last year.
Yeah.
So
And,
you
and
know,
and I suppose he's shown his kind of versatile pace wise by doing what he did at Punchestown. So it would be a big concern, but don't be surprised if he comes out maybe quite late.
yeah, possibly could. There's a couple that maybe that have been mentioned that I can see having a decent season. I wouldn't completely give up on Jericho de Repany if they go back over fences. I think he just had a bad time of it before he came back, but he did run well. The two kind of, I thought it was quite unlucky at Cheltenham. He was beat by Dolly the Great, and then probably should have went better at Punchestown as well. There's definitely a good horse there. It's just, I think 3 miles. I don't think I have any issues with him staying over 3 miles. I think Regent Stroll, maybe not
Yes,
a Cheltenham horse, but I do think he's got a lot of
yeah,
potential about him. And one at a very, very big price, who I put up quite a few times last season, Calavet on Vol for Nicky Henderson.
mm-hmm.
I think will improve for a fence. Rocky's Diamond 50 to 1 as well. There's the likes of 40 Coats I mentioned last year will probably improve for a fence. And there's a few in here, like Intense Approach. I thought ran poor at Cheltenham, but he's definitely probably a better ground horse. I wouldn't be surprised if John McConnell just keeps him back and runs him maybe before Cheltenham and then fancies his chance in here.
And another Nichols horse, Quebecois.
Quebecois runs
Could,
meant to run on Friday. I don't actually know if he's been declared or not, but there's a few.
I think
Welcome to Cartries could do
yeah,
okay as well. Like there's
yeah, he
Nichols
kind
got
of
a few.
bombed out the last day a little bit, so
Yeah,
he was a bit to prove. Irish Point, you mentioned going out fences,
Irish
high
Point.
class,
Yes,
placing a champion hurdle. They could do it if they get him together. So yeah, there's plenty of potential types, and the more that you mention them, the more that Final Demand looks even scarier. So, but this it's all just a starting point, isn't it? To where we're going, and that's the thing. You just like to kind of see how they're kind of shaping before really getting involved because there's a long way to go. So yeah, I mean, Slide Steel he could improve over a fence, on the Supreme. Went missing, but he can get back in it. Do you like Regis Roll shout? I think I can see him being messed about a little bit for the first half of the season and trying to do what Colwell Potter did and
I had a thought that they
turn
might
up
just
for that 2.5 mile race.
well, they've got
Try to
Captain
whip some.
Teague as well, who I don't know what the latest is with Captain Teague. I would be surprised if Captain Teague or Regent Stroll isn't their Cox Star horse.
Okay, I
Because
think Regent Stroll will be held, but I think it'll be.
possibly, yeah.
I think
But
he'll be 2.5. I actually think Quebecois might be the 3 miler.
could be. Yeah.
He's going that Rising Star, some of that. I mean, can do that, but I think Paul Nichols just kind of he's admitted himself. I think with the stable tour that they just went missing for a large spell last season, and he's paid the price for that a little bit. Lost like horses like Jenny's Destiny. Some owners ran out of patience a little bit.
I think Johnny Delahaye's taken all his horses, apart from Pic I think he's given a lot to Skelton, I thought.
Possibly, yeah. I mean, he's lost a couple, hasn't he? But But he's definitely top class enough in a bounce back. He's still even at a low ebb finds races.
Mm-hmm.
For his horses. So, and this weekend, when Canton Badger Beers that's his. I think he had a 5-timer last year in that car. I remember. So it's folly to dismiss him, particularly if he maps one out. You're just thinking you can't really take a price out of him because they normally go entry, don't they? His best ones, so they can kind of bypass a little bit. But yeah, if he's got a top notcher, then it'll definitely be respected. So he's a couple of possibles. I do think that the best in time will be Regent Stroll out of them all. I just wonder if he's going to, because he lost his weight at the back end of the season, I can see him kind of maybe surprisingly disappointing at the start, and a bit like Caldwell Potter was, come back to life for a kind of nice kind of novice handicap like that at the festival. But that's just in my head at the moment. But he could just be too forward for him in time and be campaigned more aggressively.
Right. So we've kind of went through the kind of big kind of divisions and novice chases. 5 horses to follow, Callum. I put 10 out at the start of the season in terms of a column, so I'm going to leave the floor to you here for a few minutes. Maybe come in with 1 or 2 later on if you don't mention them. But who's some of your exciting horses to follow this season?
Well, the top one is a kind of season one that I've kind of skirted around the edges. And Perry Pass to me is I mean, he's just going to be there to plunder all these British prizes, isn't he? To keep Willie Mullins in the early hunt start. To me, I mean, I was surprised he wasn't given an entry in the John Durkin. And I think out of, I don't know if we said the last novices aren't that good. I think he is. And we know he is. The way he won the Ballamore was spectacular. It was too spectacular for his own good because he thought they tried to campaign him as a champion hurdle horse. It didn't work. He still came out, won the entry hurdle. He missed Cheltenham again through no fault of his own because they took out the race that was meant to be earmarked for, the 2.5 mile Open Grade 1. But he still did everything right around that, apart from at Punchestown where he was brought down when Licky Watson fell right in front of him in a race that Champ Kigley won. And I think if Perry Pass stood up, I think he would have won it by 6 wickets. And to me, I think he's the only novice that's good enough to challenge the very, very best. Problem is, he's in Willie Mullins' ranks, and they're all at Willie Mullins' ranks as well. So he'd be hard to place. And the only concern is, I definitely think that if he turned up, I think he's as good as Gaelic Warrior. He beat Gaelic Warrior in the Ballamore, absolutely smashed him senseless, and he's done nothing over fences since to suggest to me that he's a lesser horse than Gaelic Warrior, or Gaelic Warrior's improved past him. He's just not been given the opportunity to do it yet through no fault of his own. He's a multiple Grade 1 winner. The likes of Django Bay in front of him in markets isn't. He's got enormous back class. He jumps fine. So he didn't do that. They might be kind of, in his sport life kind of previous kind of, we might get asked at Sandown. He even mentioned Ayr in Perth at the end of the season. I would love to see him in Ayr, but there'll be something drastically going wrong if he's ending up with Ayr at the end of the season. Because I tell you what, he's a higher class than that. And I just find it ridiculous that he's been spoken to in those kind of terms. I'm offended for him in a way. If he's ending the season at Perth and Ayr trying to get pots of money, I think he's genuinely top 3 material in a Ryanair or a Gold Cup. Genuinely do. Yeah, look at his novice form. 5 Grade 1s, winning them all at the park, and you can't say he can't act at Cheltenham. His best performances at Cheltenham. Didn't get there last year because of Champion Hurdle and they scrapped it and had to go up and trip 2.5 mile entry, and he proved he was fine.
Beat Bob
and he won that. He won that well. Yeah, and then, I mean, and the race from at Cheltenham Festival novice chasing, surely you'd want to go. And maybe he's going to try and campaign him at Casket and things like that. And maybe, hopefully, he starts at 1965 Chase, gets an entry for it. If he does that, he'd win that doing handstands. And where would you go from there? My concern is that he's just going to campaign him at like prize money hunting grade twos as if he's like a pick Dory or something.
He's run 14 times under rules and he's never been as short as 100 to 30.
Yeah, and he's won about 9, 10 of them.
Yeah, he's
And
nine. Yeah,
half of them are grade ones.
he's won 9 of
And
14, I think, has.
and why he was kind of appealing at the market says he's too big, first of all, but the worry is you're not going to get a run for your money because he's not going to campaign him like that. But the good thing for me is that every single disappointing one he's had at Leopardstown, because I just don't think he likes the place.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not bothered about how he's campaigned out with it because I'm not really interested in him at Leopardstown.
Mm-hmm.
But the thing is, if he's talking about sending fact to file and Gaelic Warrior for a King George, how does this poor lad fit in? He might fit in by running the Silvignac Conti instead, or the grade twos, and then does he then, if they're all still fit, does he get his chance at the festival? Does he even run? Does he go to Fairy House instead for that 2.5 miler? Is he just going to be a high class money making bridesmaid? That's my worry because I think he's good enough to be in the main stage by a long, long way. And if it was with anybody else, he'd be the flag bearer for the season. With Willie Mullins, he's kind of head of the B team, it seems.
Yeah. So when Perry Pass looks to be your strongest play, who's your other four that you like in the kind of horses to follow for the season?
One that we've seen come out, Game Ball at Henry de Bromheads. That was a sneakily impressive jumping debut there. Highly regarded. And he could be one that's kind of put away. Maybe he could go. He definitely got upgraded. Might try him at kind of Royal Bond or something like that. Looks versatile, 2.5, two miler, and he looks like a kind of potential kind of they're kind of like Slade Steele type character for the season. Whether he's going to be festival class or not, but I think he would pay his way high class novices, and he's definitely one of those where he's pretty reliable and he can run quite quickly and maybe be eligible for spring handicaps if he doesn't get to graded level. But I certainly think he's kind of definitely the Irish novice hurler default at the moment. I know we've got Love Me Tender and things like that, maybe a couple of highlights that slightly disappointed. Down Royal will definitely come on for their efforts. But I think he beat a good yardstick that day, wasn't favourite. Henry's are quite far forward and he usually sends a decent one for that kind of Punchestown race. So, and he had Hartwood in that meeting, so he kind of had a nice kind of 2 or 3
Had one of the
up.
best informed jockeys in the business at the moment.
Darryl Keefe's flying, like getting his opportunity, and it's great because I do really rate him. So definitely have a good season. I think it's like 30 odd clear, isn't he? So good association with him. He had a nice kind of uncomplicated white trip, the clear run at it, and he was very efficient. And I think him and Love Me Tender set decent Irish standards.
Okay, so that's Game Ball for Henry de Bromhead, who's third.
Now Zauer.
Okay.
Gavin Cromwell. Now National Hunt Chase, where he was definitely in with a winning chance of falling 2 out. He's rated 141. The winner, Horticouleurs, now improved £22, 157, won an Irish National. Resplendent Grey won the big Bet365 standard. He was fourth in that race, come out and won the Colin Parker. He'll be rated in the 150s as well. The Willie Mullins horse that unseated won the Scottish National. Rock My Way was fifth in the Scottish National, was second in that race. Clark Kent was seventh in it, place in the Scottish National. It's seriously red hot form. They're all up in the weights, apart from this fellow, and he might have shaped up the best in it. And to me, he's definitely going to get a big handicap pot in him when he gets soft ground again. Probably felt the effects of that fall in the Irish race, but Gavin Cromwell, I think, ran about 10 in that Irish National, and they all ran deplorably. Hence why you probably didn't see, I know the way you're thinking that. I think they had peaked them for.
I think Malina Girl was the only one that finished.
Yeah, they peaked them for the festival, and they just nosedive for the rest of the season, really. So he's definitely got a race in him. And if they get soft ground, they might go for the Newbury Coral Cup, for instance.
Yeah.
I think he's actually not. And with Resplendent Grey kind of showing good turn of foot, Horticolor being is that high up in the Gold Cup market as he is in Grand National markets. And they're not slow either. You kind of like three. And with the way you're thinking was mapped out for that yard for that, he was mapped out in a similar fashion. Got to think that there's serious unfinished business in handicap company for the first half of the season anyway. When he gets his ground, if he doesn't get his ground, they'll just plunder it in the second half of the season. But even he could be graded class come the end of the year. I mean, he could have a stone in hand. Really, he suggested that he did the National Hunt Chase because the winner did have a stone in hand and has proved it in the fourth. Had a half a stone in hand. So it's just really strong form, and he's the kind of the one that's going to be unaffected by it with that mark. So yeah, there's definitely a big kind of 3 mile plus race. So he'd be the ultimate. He's still a maiden as well over fences, so he can find a really kind of soft opener as well if they want, and then go handicapping, and then target the prize. But yeah, just look for his name and look for a handicap race that's got a lot of prize money worth it.
And he does have an entry at the Coral Gold Cup. Right, who's the final two?
Back me or sack me. The McMullen's horse at this October meeting that should be bought by GP McManus and running the National Hunt Chase. Simple as that. The biggest eye catcher of the season, without a shadow of a doubt. So far, I know it's early in October, but he was so raw, inexperienced, going to get caught out, whacked the fifth last, and stayed on into second from absolutely nowhere up the hill. If he gets his act together, I mean, it's Shunter Mark II stuff, really, isn't it? Over further.
That was.
And there was a lot of clever cookies on Twitter that immediately kind of went, yeah, green and gold, buy it, work back from whatever staying festival target you want. But he does need to go up in the weights a lot for
1,
that.
2, 3 is off just now.
Yeah, they'll find a way, won't they? And even now, that's not a million miles away from getting in.
No.
Particularly the bottom level. I mean, Buyer time was 132 getting in.
Yeah,
and he only really get in. He only get in because it was surprising because it didn't really fill properly. So they were surprised that they got in. So having that low a mark, just a dilution in the festival for you, though, isn't that bad. And the British handicapper's probably going to nudge you up 5 anyway.
They seem to be, though, that he's entered for the Stairs handicap that you mentioned for Mashanta as well. So whether that's
over hurling, well, that's what they did with the show, mix and match. I think he might have so much in hand that they can just kind of target accordingly, really, and mix and match and see what he's doing. Because I can see it, because he was getting steep into every single fence, and it's either, well, do you iron that out, or do you kind of go over hurdles? And you could go over hurdles just to mask your fence mark as well. They did that before. They did that with the likes of the Shunter. So it's what they specialise in, and yeah, it was an obvious kind of early sighter for what they could do. And I'd imagine once Mr. McManus can reimburse some of his Melbourne Cup Aussie dollars, get them converted back to euros, some of that money might be going that way.
It very well could be. Right, who's the final horse on your 5 to follow?
Better as well put a British horse in there. Money Garrow of Dan Skelton's.
Okay.
Third last time at Chepstow, Persian War. It was a very eye-catching run, basically. The tenderest of rides. To have like a kind of classy kind of background of in that listed bumper at Ascot, quite go to plan, but always been prominent in markets, always suggesting as if there's something to come up with. And that horse is definitely ready to just go up the ranks eventually. It just ran really well at Chepstow, caught my eye, and it just seems like a classic kind of Skelton plot. Goes steadily up through the ranks all season and has a bit in hand. Yeah, I can see that being a kind of a handicap hurdle to follow. It depends how high you can go. I know Fortune de Mer is the one that's kind of caught the eye, and by winning that race and probably a county hurdle. I think that horse might just be a level below that, but I'd expect might be kind of Scottish champion hurdle horse by the end of the season, or more battle, or these kind of races, which is quite important for prize money plundering as well, but definitely weighted to win.
Yeah, well, you mentioned a Dan Skelton horse that could be, I think Great Fleet could be in that radar as well. He's very much
Second to the King of the
Conman
North.
John twice, yeah, and I'm not one to suggest that you're holding something back at this early doors, but he was looked to be going extremely easily before the last, is all I'll say. That day.
I thought Corman John just comfortably outstayed him, really. I mean, that is definitely a horse to follow.
I'm not saying he would have won, but I'm saying I don't think the full kind of the petrol gauge was fully on show that day.
The top two are definitely ones to follow, without a doubt. I mean, Corman John, I think, is the next kind of a Hoyce and York Corrick Rambler like hybrid from Lucinda Russell's stable for sure. I mean, he races exactly the same, handy, bouncing out, and he relished the hill well, and they're already mentioning working back from
that bumper he ran in at Punchestown. I think that could turn out to be a really informative bumper. You had Soldier in Milan, Riskaway, I think, is a decent horse for Gordon Elliott, and I think the Tully horse that was second that day for Mullins, whose name just escapes me. They're all showing that could be a really good bumper that Conman John was in that day.
And the race he ran in Britain as well, on your tweeds, hacked up at air very impressively for Nicky Richards in the weekend. So I think it's a good line of form. It's just whether he's not going to dictate every race in the front, is he, like that? He's not going to really get that luxury, but he's a big raw unit, and he's very Derry Hassett Paddy like already. You know, he's clear talent there. I didn't mention him because I thought he's obviously a bit too obvious because he is the best British novice hurdle I've seen so far come out. I thought that the staying hurdle race was better than all the other ones. Fortune to me, for instance, the winner, who I think was the one that shaped out that the best, has already been mentioned as a handicap project. So they're all kind of probably handicap levels. Well, I think the top two have got graded futures in that race. Conman John's definitely one to be excited about in the same colours as Hoyce and Yor, of course.
Yeah, just a few that maybe caught my eye kind of over the past week or so. I wouldn't give up on the Flying King. I know it was a bit of a kind of symbolic ending, but I think he showed that it definitely looks to be a battle. Just certainly looks to be a kind of battle project long term. I actually just looking here, upon Tweed was on my radar as well. I wouldn't put anybody off if they were looking at maybe down the line. I thought the Jukebox Kid was pretty good last time.
Yeah, good shout. Yeah,
he's a good shout. He could potentially. I don't know whether they would maybe look at the 2.5, but I can certainly see him winning a 2.5 chase somewhere in a handicap. Maybe not Cheltenham, but I can see him going for somewhere there. And I really liked a couple. One of Henry de Bromhead's, Mr. Pessimistic, who won on Sunday. He was pretty solid at Nace, I think it was. And Tormund at Giantsbane. If you're a Game of Thrones fans like me, that name caught your eye straight away. He looks to me to be a bit of a kind of tricky ride, but I think there's a lot under the bonnet that you might see down the line. And I would really look today. This will probably go out after the racing at Chepstow. If Cadastral wins that, he's a Skelton horse to follow. He was in the 10 to follow. He could be a good horse. And the Kemble Brewery runs today as well, who's definitely got a pot in him if he stays fit for Kim Bailey. So there's a few to mention. Haven't looked at the champion bumper at all. And I've usually got one on my radar. I've not looked at one at all. Problem with novice hurdlers is that, especially this year, when you've got a horse like Bambino Fever, who's favourite for 4 races, simply because the trainer has said she can go anywhere.
Yeah,
kind of tells you where you're at.
He's probably got a good fair few already to kind of look at. I mean, Davy Crockett could come back for the second half of the season as well. He was kind of one that was touted early on. Lovely 10, I thought looked better than him. So they're already GP McManus and Willie Mullins, early sighters, Game Ball, the one I mentioned, I thought that looked pretty good. Calypso Chance was clinically abnormal, so you'd like to think he's much better than what he showed. So yeah, but I mean, I think what you're kind of looking for is bit like Conman John, is that you want to see a talented novice go and win, but not the finished article. Like lots more to build on, lots more to come. They'll look better in a better race, for instance. And yeah, the same with that, the juvenile stuff and bumpers. You're just kind of looking for, you're just kind of tracking them, aren't you? Waiting to see where the form lines correspond, and
Yeah.
then pulling the trigger much later down the line and see how it all unfolds. But I mean, it's like the juveniles that Nearcoast has. I think probably his one of the best.
GP, I think JP's pop Malaga and
GP's
sent to Nicky Henderson, and he
Mullins,
sent
yeah.
Narciso Haas. One that's quite fascinating, Martin Midi Essoir, who's went to the Bromhead, I think, in the Robcour colours.
Yeah, it's a Rob Cool one. There's a Rich
Yeah.
Ritchie one as well that's been sent
Yeah, Rich
to
Ritchie actually has decent a
what,
decent horse in terms of
Manlaga.
Mares Novice, Riska Bahia, who he's had for a while, and he does have a full brother to Gaelic Warrior who's meant to be going running a bumper before Christmas.
Yeah, I think Narciso has a GP Maris as well.
Yeah,
Manlanga, I think, is the Triumph horse. Willie Mullins
Malaga.
that's owned by Rich Ritchie, and Narciso has is the one Willie Mullins is from France that's been owned by GP
GP,
McManus
yeah.
already. So I mean, and they're understandably, the top of the market. Obviously, wait to see them run. But Munch 2 came out and was a bit workmanlike. I think she could leave that behind. God, Elliot was regretting not putting the hood on or something like that. She need to show a lot more to be anywhere near graded class. But we could leave it behind. These horses got potential. And I always remember the Ballyburn year where his debut looked very sketchy. For instance, a couple of them did. They were at the top of the market at the start, and they ended up being the top of the market and they ended up winning. So usually the people that have got the energy and that are finger in the pulse early doors, they're usually not far away, even if the debut can maybe leave a lot to be desired. They can usually come good. So it's all about following them, tracking them, and then hopefully trying to get them there and play the right ones in the day.
Yeah, and it's all about that at the Kennelly stage. But we are going to be your guide from now until the end of March, where we'll be looking at all the kind of big results over the weeks, and we'll be putting up some picks over the course of the season. Mate, always a pleasure to have your company. Thank you very much as always.
Yeah, good to get started.
Brilliant. Thank you very much, everyone tuned in. There will be a column going out Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. It's a busy 4 days of racing, so we'll have our selections for all 4 days. Callum will be sharing his as well. Thank you very much, folks. We'll see you all soon.